Hello, my name is Lavanya Mohan. I'm currently in Singapore, and today I have an opportunity to talk about whether I think unit tests are important and why. Now, when testers come across the term test automation, they usually tend to think about the checks which are driven through UI. But we know that UI level tests take time to run and they are expensive to maintain. Also, if a UI level test fails, then debugging the exact issue could take some time as well. On the other hand, unit tests are checks on an independent unit of code. They are focused and fast. So if a unit test fails, we almost know for sure what the exact cause of failure was. And since they're fast, they can be run often, not just after every commit, but a developer can run these unit tests after every small change that they do. And when these unit tests fail, there's no need for someone else to come and say that something is broken. A developer knows and can fix it immediately. Unit tests also help in improving design of code. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if there is some component for which writing a unit test is difficult, then very often it signifies that the design of code is not good. So writing unit tests can improve not just testability of code, but also improve the design. Now, all these different benefits that I just spoke about are probably more from the perspective of a developer. Do unit tests help testers like me? Well, they are live documentation for everyone. And when testers look at unit tests, they understand what different checks are already present. So they can suggest what more needs to be added as well. And the other benefit is that it helps avoid duplicate checks at the UI level. So maybe the number of tests at the UI level decreases, and that can help us maintain the UI automation suite as well. Now, since these basic scenarios are tested and covered at the unit level, we don't need to check these scenarios over and over again after every change. What that means is that it gives testers time to do things that matter. It gives us time to explore and learn about our product. It gives us time to experience the product in ways that our end users would actually experience it. And it gives us an opportunity to provide feedback in areas that actually matter. So I would like to leave you with a thought that I read in one of Martin Fowler's blogs. He said that these higher level tests are a second line of defense. So if a failure is found at a higher level test, it means that not just the functionality has an issue, but could also mean that there is a missing unit test. Thank you.
Welcome to today's episode of WIT. My name is Ankita and I'm working with TCS for 1.5 years now in the field of testing. Since then, I'm fascinated by testing and and the complete field itself. So today I'll be speaking on unit testing and importance of unit testing. So thank you, Brijesh, for giving me this opportunity to speak on the topic. Hello and welcome to today's episode of WIT. This is Ankita and I currently work in TCS as a tester, and my testing journey began in 2019 and it's been 1.5 years. And today's topic is, do you think unit testing is important? And if so, why? So my clear answer to that is yes, unit testing is important, and I'll be speaking on why unit testing is important. Okay. So what exactly is unit testing? Unit testing is a way of testing the smallest piece of code, referred to as unit, that can be logically isolated in a system. It is mainly focused on functional correctness of a standalone modules and is usually done by the person who has written the code, that is, the developer. So basically, unit testing means to check whether the function behaves according to the required functionality. Okay, so what is the purpose of unit testing? We want the code to work. We want to keep it working. We want to develop faster and with fewer regressions. We know how regression testing can be, time consuming. We all make mistakes. To err is to human. We all know that. What are the benefits of unit testing? It saves effort on fixing the issues, reduces testing cost, gives more time for testers to do exploratory testing rather than focusing on regression testing, gives confidence and peace of mind. True. Well, all of these purpose and the benefits are quite clear to us. It looks all good in theoretically. But what happens when we actually practically try and implement unit testing within the environments that we work in? It all seems great. What is the chaos around unit testing? Hint, not everyone has a test-driven mindset. No, sometimes not even the testers have a test-driven mindset. Okay, so let us see it one by one. So this is a developer who is working on a project named Alberto. So Alberto has written the code and is quite sure that it's working fine. Now Alberto is often demotivated when it comes to unit test his code. Why is he exactly demotivated? He's asked to achieve 100% test coverage. He has an axe on his head to deliver in 2 days. He has already completed writing the functionality and finds writing unit tests a burden and an overhead. Now he has already spent time in coding the solution and thinking of the solution. Now testing and writing the tests and the coding the tests seem another overhead. He does not have time to deliver. There is pressure on him to deliver the code to the QA. He thinks that, okay, if it has to be tested, it will be tested by the testers. Okay, fair enough from Alberto's point of view. And let's meet Jason. Jason is somebody from a business team, and he is always worried about the timelines and the schedules. He seems that okay, development is complete now. Move it to QA. Time, budget, and are the major constraints with which Jason is concerned about. Now, the third thing that Jason is concerned about is encountering a bug at the end of testing. It will impact testing sign-off and hence the production release dates. So now this is quite questionable. Is Jason worried about the bug? Okay, there is a bug in the product. That means there could be more bugs in the product. Or is he worried about the production release? It's not released. So, okay. Let's meet a person from testing team. Meet Jenny. Okay, oh god. Jenny seems super frustrated when it comes to do regression for the product. She's clearly eating her laptop. Why is she so frustrated? Okay, she has to complete regression plus functional testing within the timelines. He just did regression for the application last week and finds regression monotonous. Okay. Anxious that she's responsible if a bug creeps into the product. Okay. And that too in production. Okay. So Jenny has a serious reason to worry about. Okay. So now we have seen the situation of all of the three developers, the business, and the testing teams. So do you think it is a game of perspectives? Now, when it comes to unit test, developers think, why do I have to unit test all of the functionalities? Why do I have to meet test coverage? I do not have time. I need to deliver this ASAP because the business is waiting for development to be completed so that they can move this to testing teams to test. Now, business is not really concerned about whoever tests. We need results on time, without bugs, and within budget. Okay. And testers see this as, okay, oh no, regression. Now, how will I ever be able to find all of the bugs that are in the product? Now, a tester does not know whether the product is actually unit tested well or not. it is really, really difficult to actually find a bug that might have slipped from unit testing. So we have understood the perspective and the what all of the people in the same scenario are going through. So what happens if a bug actually creeps in? Who is responsible for quality? Now, is this okay? We can say that this bug was not found by the tester. Why not found? Is it literally possible to cover each and every functionality, each and every phase of the testing? A bug that slips from unit testing, how can a tester, if a tester misses the bug, how is he not responsible who has created the bug? Okay, if not tester, then is developer. Um, Maybe, but developer was asked to develop and not to test. So how is he responsible for the bug? So who exactly is responsible? Is it the business? They don't even develop, they don't even test. How are they responsible? So we can see who to blame, who exactly to blame. Well, we say no one, but it is actually the culture. It is a culture that is prevalent in the software development organizations that is actually responsible for the quality of the product. Not the bugs, but the quality of the product. The culture is major, the mindset, the way people are thinking about things is actually responsible for quality. Let's deep dive. Now, what is the development culture? I actually did a survey with some of my friends, a few friends from around 10 companies to understand what exactly is their thinking on unit testing. Now, what are the cultures prevalent in organizations? Forcing developers to do unit testing. Now, some organizations adopt the practice of unit testing, but forcibly. How? Developers are not motivated to do unit testing. They see it as an overhead. Now, some organizations say to achieve 100% test coverage. And that is also not possible for developers because some of them work on legacy codes, existing codes where tests were not created. So we need to understand this situation as well in order to move ahead. We need to identify what code is testable, what code is not testable, and then write unit tests accordingly. Now, working on a code written by others, legacy codes. So, code written by others do not have proper tests. Now, another problem faced by developers is if I update my code, I have to update my unit tests too. So, they see writing the code, updating the unit test, writing the code, updating the unit test. That slows, according to them, that slows them down. We do not have time to test. Of course, urgent deliverables. Nobody cares about unit testing in my peers. So we see that if your colleagues do not unit test, you will eventually not unit test. Now, based on the survey that I conducted, I realized that what was common about the developers who hated unit testing. Yes, there were a set of developers who liked and are okay with unit testing. So what was common about developers who hate unit testing? The developers who hate unit testing were actually made to write tests after writing functionality. They were writing the code first and then testing it. The peers do not take unit tests seriously. When there is an urgent deliverable, unit tests are neglected. Timeline does not allow. Yeah, true. Seeing it as a testing activity. So unit testing by development team is seen as a testing activity. Throw it over the wall to the testers to feel the pain of their buggy code. So they see it as a testing activity. And in comparison to that, about the developers who like unit testing, they were writing the test before writing the code, before writing the functionality. The way of working in their organizations was to actually write the tests first. Write all of the tests first. Convert the designs into your test cases first. Your understanding of design into the test cases first. And then running it, failing it, and then actually write your code to pass each test case. In that way, they start seeing the test cases, the unit test, as designed, as the way of working, as a, a solution to help them code, as a guide to help them code. This was a major difference, which I noticed when I asked them these questions. When I asked them questions like, what do you think about unit testing? When do you actually unit test? Is unit testing is that ever neglected in your organization? Do you always unit test? Do you make sure that we unit test? When do you pass it on to testing? Such questions help me come up with these conclusions. So there were perspectives. Some of the developers who liked, they saw it as a way of working. They saw it as a part of development process. Now, other developers saw it as an overhead, saw it as something which slows them down. Now, what is the leadership and the management culture? The leadership and the management culture on these developers some were focusing on delivery rather than quality. Deliver the code, put it to the testing. Okay? Quality was not main agenda. Main agenda was to deliver. However you deliver, you deliver. Forcing the developers to do unit testing. Now, some of them were, we know there's so much on the internet about unit testing. Some of them were okay, we will adopt unit testing. So that way of working, forcing someone to adopt unit test when they do not believe in it, when they do not actually know how to gain benefit from it, is not the way of working. So that's a major problem. Timelines for development does not consider unit testing. So unit testing actually takes a lot of time. Let's all accept it. Unit testing takes time. So this is not actually acceptable when the business teams do not see return on investment. They think we are already paying for testing. So the confusion is there because of the term testing with unit testing. Being penny wise pound foolish, this is my favorite quote. So why are they being penny wise pound foolish? In order to save time here, in time and cost here in the development effort to provide for unit testing, they try to save costs here, not realizing the hundreds of bugs which might slip into the product due to the lack of unit testing, may actually arise a lot of support issues, or maybe regression bugs, or maybe so many other issues later on in time, which may cost them more than they are spending right now. So a wise spending beforehand of time, and thinking beforehand about the solution, about the testing procedure, it can actually save you money and effort on the long run. Introducing testing as a last phase. Absolutely correct. When testing is introduced as a last phase, you'll get many surprises as bugs, and you can even see surprises in the design. Then, not realizing that a bug found in the test phase is much more expensive than finding it earlier. True. If the bug is found later on in timeline, it will obviously cost much more than when it is found at design or when it is found at implementation phase. The better idea is to prevent bugs rather than fix bugs. Testing culture. They aren't really quality gatekeepers which they think of, which they are dreamed about, which they are supposed to only test whether this is how it works, this is how it does not work. They aren't really responsible for code quality. They do not build the code. They are not responsible for quality. can't cover everything. They cannot test everything. There'll always be bugs. And if there is a lack of unit testing, there'll be more bugs. Not so intelligent testing. They do not try. They whenever they hear regression, okay, we have to test everything, each and everything. Okay, do it. Now, they do not actually see what module is actually getting impacted. Not for all the cases, but some major cases, they do not see what impact is there, which module is impacted, and which are the related modules which can actually get impacted. So, a, a little effort over that aspect can help a lot of, help a lot of test coverage. It is actually a game of changing mindsets. So management needs to prioritize quality rather than just delivering time and budget. It should be a quality product. So please understand that quality begins at the start of the timeline, at the design and the implementation phase. So if quality is kept in mind during those phases, that will result in much better product. Now, if someone is responsible for missing a bug, someone is also responsible for creating a bug. Think on saving costs in long run by encouraging good practices, and strive for cultural change. So strive to bring in this culture to developers. Accept that unit tests take time. Not all code can be testable. Divide them based on that. Think unit tests as a way of coding the right solution and not as testing. If you do not write them, your successes will suffer as you do today. You know how it is to work with legacy code. So try to change that. Testers are not safety nets. Please do not think that if you have missed something, okay, it will be caught by testers. Please take ownership. Try to change it now. Testers, please accept that each and every bug that slips from unit testing cannot be caught. But this does not mean that you have to, not test properly. You have to test each and everything properly. Please make sure that you participate in the design and the implementation phase. Do not waste time waiting for developers and management to finish on developing so that you can test. Testing can begin right from the design phase, not literally testing, but you can provide your experience and your subject matter expertise and your ways on the design flaws that you can point out. So your opinion on that is super important. Focus on right testing rather than testing everything cluelessly. Try to be practical with your testing approach, and spare time for exploratory testing. So that's where where we can find our creative selves, where we can actually discover many things about the product and learn it in a different way. Milestones to achieve for leadership is to realize the importance of the quality that is greater than the speed. Testing to realize that they aren't quality gatekeepers and to test from the beginning. Development teams to look at unit testing as a way to code and not a way to test. So I hope you, in future, you rule your code and not bugs like this one. We do not want bugs to rule our codes. We want ourselves to rule our codes. It should be under our control. Good luck with that. Thanks for your time.